Let's talk about function parameters as they are passed by value. So passed by value pretty much means that you're passing values, right, or data as function arguments. So the example that we see here includes the passing of two arguments, parameter 1 and parameter 2. Both are of integer type. And if parameter 1 is 2, parameter 2 is 5, then what's going to happen is you have 2 and 5 right here. And they're literally the copy of what gets passed in. So if what gets passed in, argument number 1 is 2, then what's inside of your function as a parameter number 1 will be a copy of what got passed in. The same thing with parameter 2 as well. If the argument is passed into the function by value, then that function actually makes a copy of that value. So what you have is a copy of the original value passed in to this function. And this is very easy to prove. If parameter 1 or 2, they are not copies of the original argument, then what happens is if we were to change parameter 1 by 1, let's see if we were to param plus plus, param 1 plus plus, what's going to happen is your parameter number 1 is going to have a value of 3 after this because you're adding 1 to it because parameter 1 was 2. Now, the fact that you're doing parameter 1 plus plus inside of this function has nothing to do, and it's not going to affect the value of the arguments passed in. The argument outside of this example function will still be 2, regardless how you increment parameter 1. The same thing with parameter 2 as well. This is the reason why now they are copies of their original value. This is what we call passed by value. A lot of times in certain texts, they said call by value, but it's the same thing, invoke by value, if we will. Let's look at another example, in fact, a different analogy of passed by value. So this is an analogy, passed by values where, let's say, I write down something on a piece of paper and hand it to you. The example is when I, let's say, print out a web page URL and give you the printout. Maybe it is a complete copy of this entire web page. No matter what it is on a piece of paper, which I just gave to you. It is effectively your piece of paper. You are now free to scribble on that piece of paper or use that piece of paper to find something somewhere else and fiddle with it, wherever you have to do with it. Your printout is your printout, which is a copy of the original. You can, in fact, delete or destroy the printout, and it still won't delete or destroy the original website. So this is an analogy of passing something by value. So go back to the previous example where we illustrated pass by value. Notice that the function's formal parameters are variables that are newly created. So these formal variables are parameter 1 and parameter 2. These are newly created, as in they are instantiated, 4 bytes each, because each integer is of 4 bytes in memory space. So these are newly created for the function invocations. And these variables, parameters 1 and parameters 2, are then initialized with the values of their arguments. This illustrates what a pass by value means as far as the function parameters are concerned in C and C++.